Dave here. How are you? Today on the show, we are going to assemble this little bandsaw. This is a 10-inch Carbotech saw. I did buy it, so there's nothing to hide. And we're going to have a look at these gloves that I bought also online. I'll give you a link for them if you're interested. These are for carving, for chisels, and for using with a knife. I get good feeling with them, but we'll talk more about that in the show. And also this little box that I finished making as well. This was from last week. So if you've got a minute or two or half an hour or an hour, hang out with me and we'll get this project done. See you soon.
Dave here. How are you? Dave here, how are you? Today is the 6th of November 2022. If you hear anything in the background, it's such a beautiful day here. I've got the door open and the dogs are out there chasing lizards and chewing their feet. Anyway, Pierre likes to do that kind of stuff. All right, today on the show, we're going to, as I just said in the intro there, we're going to assemble this bandsaw. This is ideal for a small workshop. Now, I have bought this because I have a 14-inch bandsaw and I like to leave the larger blade on it for ripping and that kind of stuff. Now, this one I'm going to leave set up as a much smaller setup so that I can use it for detail work for things like if I was working on this hand plane. This area here I would cut out with a drill, as you have seen me do, but all of this shape here, I would do with this saw rather than take the blade off the big saw. I'm in a very fortunate position to be able to do this. I understand that. I get the same price as any other staff member for this company. I'm not endorsing it. I'm just letting you know that's how it's happened. And I've seen this, this has been a standard saw that the company's had for a long, long time. It's a lovely saw. I'll put it back. The other thing we're going to do is, you may notice, I've had a tidy up. This end of the workshop has been so embarrassing to have it here. It was piled up. I keep on saying that a spare space in a workshop ends up being a magnet for clutter. So I actually use other terminology when I talk about that. But all the AV is good. Thank you very much for letting me know, everyone. You've got the same model, haven't you, Gary? For people that haven't watched the show, I may just stop talking about what I'm talking about because possibly I'm going senile and I'll just start talking about something else. At the moment, I'm just saying hello to people down the side here. Carl, John, Ron, Peter, Military Vehicle Markings, Gary, Brian, John Gibbs, everyone else. Hi. Okay, so I have cleaned up. I'm starting from one end of the workshop. I'm going that direction. You know, when they build a road, they just start at the beginning and they'll cut the section through, and then everyone else will be following along with the pavement, the curbs and gutters, and then all of the topsoil and plants and footpaths and everything. So they go along in this stage down the track. That's what I'm doing here, cleaning it up as I'm going down. I'm not going to show you the other end. That's very embarrassing. That's where I normally am. Okay, so I have tools laid out here in anticipation of what I'm going to find in here. I have not assembled one of these before, so you and I are going to be learning at the same time. I did mention that I was going to show you these. So I'm just letting you know later on in the show, I will show you these things. And I have noticed a few people say that when they bought carving gloves, because these are, I think these are Kevlar or something like that. I tried cutting one with a knife yesterday, couldn't do it. And I didn't wear it. Like I'm not going to tempt fate. I think one of my daughters was saying, go on, Dad, just put it on and cut your hand with it, see what happens. Well, I've put it on a chopping board and tried to cut it, didn't cut. So I'm going to talk about these a little bit later. I have got links for a couple of these things in the video description down below. So if you click on the show more, you might find a few links. We're also going to talk about this little guy. This is the box that I made for collecting these guys out of the Connect 4 game. I'll talk about that a little bit later in the show as well. So first thing is get into this. So I'll move that over there. The dog is chewing the doorstep. Pierre, stop it. No, go on. His big teeth marks in the step. Leave it alone, or I'll shut the door and you'll be outside. Do you think he understands? He's French bulldog. He doesn't understand English. Anyway, all right, knife. First thing to do. You got the same model. Brian, Lukens, g'day. Morning, John. Michael was looking for this saw the other day. It looks like a good little saw and was thinking of doing the same thing as you. I don't need it. Let me get that through. I don't need this saw, but it's bloody convenient. And I thought for a lot of people that don't have the same size setup as I've got, I understand I'm very fortunate. If you haven't and you've got a smaller setup, this might be an idea for you to use. But there's a way more views if Dave was doing this stream in Budgie Smugglers. Possibly. Possibly. Okay, here we go. First thing, standing knife. I'm going to cut the straps. So those are off. And throw them over there for the dog. See what he does with it. I don't have Carl Cam here today. It's down the other end. This is the saw's identification. BS stands for Bandsaw, 245H, 245 millimeters diameter on the wheels. I'll explain a couple of things about bandsaws as I'm going along. H, I don't know what the hell H stands for. Someone tell me. I haven't opened this. I've got no idea of what to expect in here. This is directly from overseas. All right, what I might do is bring things onto the table here so you can see what's happening. There's a heavy section. And we've got a book and a big chunk of polystyrene on the top. I'll lift that off. Well, I'm hoping to. Some polystyrene down the side. These things come in handy now and then. Pierre thinks he wants them straight away. I'll give him the box. He loves cardboard boxes. Go figure. This part is coming off slowly. There we go. There's another piece of polystyrene. And inside there I have a table. This is the saw's table. Put that down. And I've got another couple of nuts and feet. I think this is all for the stand. Now, I'm not going to assemble the stand because I'm going to put it on one of my wheel around, roll around. So a roll round cart. Promise to war those, not a good look. Okay, we also have the fence. And the good thing about this fence is it locks front and back of the table. That's one of the things I like about this saw. It's also got a little section, I think you can lay it over on its side, so it can go down really low, so you can lower the top guide wheels down really close to what you're working on, if you're working on thin stuff. Got a lot of features. That's one of the reasons why I bought the thing. What else we got here? There's a little miter gauge and some knobs as well. There's a switch down there, I think, and the saw itself. All right, I'm going to put this box on the floor and take the saw out and bring the saw up onto the top here, because I think the saw is the only thing left here. Now, it's a fair weight. Let's see what it says here. It's 42 kilos, 39.5 kilos inside. Now, the saw table is cast iron, so it's not aluminium. This is not a cheap saw. This is a really, really nice saw. So there's probably 5 or 6 kilos in there. So it's going to be around 30 kilos of saw it's advisable to get someone to give you a hand. Anything over 20 kilos, they say 2 people. They never really told us that when I was building. You know, you just made do. You just picked the things up and went for it. Okay, so rather than put it on the floor, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand the box up here, like so, and then slide the saw towards you. Bring it back. Just trying to separate it from the box without giving myself another hernia. Or without dropping it. There we go. Box is off. There you go, Pierre. Knock yourself out, buddy. There you go. Cardboard box. He loves them. All right. I'll show you in a second. From the top, I can pull that back, break that off the back of it, tip forward, and pull that part off. Done. Now, raising it up. First thing I notice is the switch cover has come off, but that's okay. It's one of those covers. The switch cover is a little clip-on style. So let's bring this back so you can see what I'm talking about. See this? There's a little cover, and it's got these little dimples, or pimples I should say, on it. So if I put that there and there, let's see if it just pushes back on. Yep, there it is. So you lift this up and it springs up. There's a little tab there that off and on. This is an NVR switch, which means no volt release. So if I have a blackout for whatever reason and the saw stops, when the power comes back on, the saw's not going to automatically start up again. There's a magnetic thing in here that disables it. So as soon as it turns off, it's like a little electric magnet that holds it, keeps it off. Won't start up, so when you move it, it won't cut you. He's a crazy dog. All right, let's go to the other camera and have a bit of a look. In a second. I told you I'd jump around all over the place. Don't go near the box, it will eat you. Well, maybe, I don't think so. Let me have a look here. Robbie, evening Dave, Ron, you've got the 10-inch bandsaw. Can I use a resaw blade in a 10-inch? Well, it depends on the largest blade that you can buy for the things. You can have blades made. There's a company for people in Sydney called Henry Brothers, and they may turn around and say, no, that's just too small as a baby saw, because they make bandsaw blades that are this wide. Forget how long they are. It's 6 inches wide. They're massive. But I've had them make a blade for me for the bigger saw for resawing. So you could always ask them. If he doesn't understand, then parlez en français au chien. I don't know what that means, John. We have right, Peter. Morning, Dave, and everyone. Peter, how are you? Wally, it's very easy for you to say, Dave. Did you pick out the saw after looking at it in the showroom? Well, yes. It's one of the saws that's been in the showroom for years and years and years. This is the same saw that they've had. It was a different color. It was a lighter blue, I think. It had a different label on it. You know, it's just a nice small saw, and you can see how big it is in comparison to me. So it stands possibly 900 millimeters tall, and its base is, I don't know, 300 by 450 odd. And as I say, I'm going to put it on a cart. In here is the frame, all the legs. Now, I don't like putting things on a frame like that unless I have it on a mobile base. Now, if I'm going to spend the money on a mobile base, I may as well spend the money on a bit of melamine or plywood and some casters, and then I've got a cupboard underneath, and drawers. Why not? And then I can put all the spare parts for it in that cupboard. That's the way I prefer to do it. You know, a lot of people say, no, I'll just keep the stand. I'll go with the stand. Okay, so that is the rail that goes on the front of the table. That guy there. These are all the feet. I think they're all the feet and the bolts and nuts for the stand. I'll put them over to the side. There is an instruction manual. And normally, you know what they say, when all else fails, read the instructions. Put them over there for the moment. And then we've got the miter gauge. Now, the other thing is these things come with grease on them. So I'm going to get my disposable gloves and some terps and a rag. Give me a second. While I'm doing that, I'll swing the camera over to the back here and you can have a look how nice all of the everything's looking over here now with all of this cleaned up. I'm going to make one of these angled supports for this, and I'm going to put LED lights in behind so then all of the resin will just glow. For those people that haven't seen the show before or seen this before, behind each plane when I made this board, I've got the number of it and that's cast in resin, and behind I can shine a light which will make all of these numbers glow. So when you take the plane out, it looks pretty sexy. Anyway, I'll go up the other end and grab this, grab the gloves and the terps and an old towel. Turpentine, towel, and a couple of gloves. What do you think, Pierre? All right. I'll put the towel on the bench just to keep it a little bit clean. And this guy over here, we'll switch it back. You see Cole's numbers are going up. This is from Gifkin's Jig. I did a little shop tour the other day when I went up to Brisbane. I dropped in and saw Cole and I said, look, people might be interested in having a bit of a look around in your workshop. You know, we're all sticky beaks, aren't we? Anyway, he put on 50 subscribers after I did the video, which was great. You know, if you haven't seen him, have a look in the description down the bottom and you'll see Gifkin's Dovetail Jig. Click on that, go to his YouTube channel and subscribe. Why not? He's a talent, a real master. Okay, a rag. And we'll clean this off. Time's not doing too bad. Bit of turpentine. There's the tiniest praying mantis. He's half an inch long. Come on. He's not going to look too easy to see on the gloves, but he's there. I'll put him on the rag. You watch this. When he jumps on, there he is. He is so cute. Ha! That's amazing. Okay. Over you go. The saw's pretty much assembled. All we got to do is load it onto the trunnion. But it is, do yourself a favour and clean this thing first. See, there's not a lot, but it is worthwhile doing. Nice. Mining coal. Where do you put cast iron to stop the rust? I use a thing called Silver Glide. I'll show it to you right now. When I find it, there it is. This is Silver Glide. I keep it in a packet so it doesn't dehydrate. That's the stuff. And I keep a kind of, what do you call this? This would be like a Scotch-Brite pad, but this is actually called Festool's Vlies. V-L-I-E-S, pronounced fleece, because it looks like a fleece. So I clean with that. I keep a microfiber cloth in here to put that on. I put it on, leave it on for about 10 minutes, and then rub it off, and it doesn't leave any residue. So it's a kind of, it's almost like an aluminium paste slip, which works very well and doesn't affect if you're going to do any staining or painting on timber. So that's one of the reasons I like it. Wally, you liked watching the video of Cole's shed. You saw the shop tour. He certainly has a diversity of timbers. All right, don't give me a hard time about saying yep all the time, because we were just having a conversation. I had the camera running, and I had a bit of flack for saying yep too many times while I was talking to Cole. Anyway, I use Johnson's Floor Paste Wax. Okay, cool. All right, now this is a little, move that out of the way. This is a tiny little motor on it. Let me see how many it is. It's a 350 watt, which is half a horsepower. Basically 750 watts is 1 horsepower. This is basically a half horse. And it doesn't need to be any bigger. For what it does, it's fine. 50 hertz, 1.6 amps, 1260 RPM. So that's the kind of speed that it's cutting at. All right, what's our next step here, David? I'm going to have a look in the book. That's how to do this. Do the stand. Yep, put that to the side. Not interested. Okay. E, C, all that kind of stuff. Safety instructions at the beginning. General safety, bandsaw safety, electrical safety. Basically half the book is on how not to cut yourself. If you need to read that, you shouldn't be using a saw. That's all I'm going to say about that. Okay. Assembly instructions. Talking about putting the base together. I'm not putting the base together. Then it says getting the fitting the stand. I'm not interested in that. Installing the trunnion. So we're going to start in the middle of the book. That's where I'm starting, which is page 19. Loosen the wing nut between the upper and lower trunnion. Okay, which is this one here. I'll spin it around so you can see. Move that out of the way. So this is the trunnion here, and underneath here is a wing nut. We're going to loosen that so we can move that. There you go. If you haven't learned anything else today, that's your first thing. This is a trunnion. Some saws have a double trunnion, and some saws have a trunnion that you can move that are geared. Got little gear, rack and pinion underneath. This one is such a small saw that it doesn't need to have all of that. So this one has a trunnion that should work. Let me come around this side. Why is it not turning now? There it is. There's a tiny, tiny, tiny little lug on the end, and it was just catching on it. There we go. Now I could take it off and give that a quick touch with a file, but I don't think I really need to. It'll be fine. I'm going to leave it. Okay, so we've loosened that off, and then it says slide the cast iron table smooth side up. Are you kidding me? Okay, kiddies, don't put it up that way. I can't believe it. Okay, so underneath you will see that there are 4 holes. Okay, now they are already tapped for the bolts to go through the trunnion into there. When you put it on, make sure that you slide it along the blade here to ensure that this is at the back of the saw. Remember, I've got the saw turned around. The motor's on this side, so we're going to slide it on this way. Remember, I've got the slot there. Slide her on very slowly until it's sitting on there, like so. That's it. That isn't so hard. We're going to have a little look under here and see if we've got those things lined up. I'm going to tighten that up now so it doesn't roll, and it will support it while I go and find... No, it won't. It's not going to support it. I will take that back off there and find the correct bolts. Pierre's still down there. I haven't shown you what he's doing yet, have I? All right. M6 by 12. Let's see if we've got M6 by 12s in here. I think we do. Undo these. Chris, you've got this saw, do you? You use bow shield. Everyone's going to talk about what they use for slip. That's fair enough. Now it comes with a 10mm spanner, a 13mm spanner, and a couple of Allen keys. This is a knob that goes up the top. We'll put that on soon. Those things there. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of the M6 by 12 bolts. Now they're going to go up through there. We'll do that now. Lift that up, push this along a little bit, so towards the center. Now if I had Carl Cam here, this would probably be a little bit easier to show you, but it's up the other end in the dirty area of the workshop at the moment. And just slowly locate one, and then locate another one. And then what I'm going to do is cheat a little bit. I have this thing with my glasses. I don't know how many of my viewers wear glasses, but if I get too close or at an angle, I really struggle seeing where things are. So I have to stand back a little bit. There we go. Now these, I'm guessing, are 10mm. Now rather than use a 10mm spanner, I like to use a 10mm socket. So I've got this little guy here on a screwdriver connection, and that makes it really quick. See that? Done. Don't tighten, just nip it up. Now I'm going to release this, and then I can rotate it like so, and then I can get the nuts from the back, oh sorry, the bolts in at the back really easy. Spin it around. Kyle, you don't want to see how to put a bandsaw together. Okay. Or have a look at how that box came up using your jig. Now, you can tune a bandsaw. I'm trying to do this with my left hand and I'm right-handed, so maybe I should be doing it the other way around. You can tune a bandsaw by moving the table around on the trunnion. I have done a video on it. I'll put a link up here on how to adjust the trunnion, because a lot of people don't even consider that. And then they turn around and say, oh, saw's not cutting straight. Okay, release this, lower that down, and now tighten the trunnion up again. And before I nip those bolts up with, I'm going to use the ratchet drive on the socket. I'm just going to make sure that the blade is aimed straight down the slot. It's a really basic thing to do, but if I look straight down the slot here and line the blade up with it, so that, you know, if you look straight down, you can save yourself a lot of grief. That's basically the secret to setting these things up. I'll nip this up. Not too tight, just, you know, tight, don't go for it. We're going to have to tilt this one up. Again, I've got 3 of the bolts are already done up tight, so that will hold it as I tighten this last one. Done. Lower it back down again. And when you tighten the trunnion up, it centers it. Okay. I bought the Tim Tabs. Now, you're going to put up some pics of the workbench. Sorry. I'm Chris. Who are you talking to there at the moment? All right, Bianca's here as well. Great. I'm going to take the gloves off now. It gives me a little bit more feeling. And past. Let's have a break. Worn out. I'll spin it around. You can see where we're up to. Now, for all the world to see, that looks like an almost completed bandsaw. There's a few things we've got to do yet. Look, what I'll do is see this guy here. Whilst we've got it at that stage, this goes here. Now there's a dirty big cut in the table you can see there. That's more than half the length. And this aligns the pair of the 2 sides. Of course, at the moment, they can move independently of each other. See that? And that's no good. So what you do is you drop that down in there, like so. And then there's a wing nut here. But as you tighten, it pulls the 2 tables perfectly in line. And that head should stay under, but you know what? It's sitting up the thickness of the washer. Bad move, David. I just told you all a bad thing. Let's change that around. You leave the washer on the bottom side. Take the washer off, put the bolt in, and now it's under the surface, and the washer will protect the plastic end there. Oh dear. Yeah, so would be, it's a half horse, and that's where I use the Allen key to hold it still. Done. Perfectly flat. Now, you have to take that out every time you want to change the blade. Okay, because how else are you going to get a continual blade out of there? All right, gloves. Now, I'm 5'10". I don't have to say now. I'm 5'10". My hands are kind of a normal size for a guy 5'10". I bought the large size of these. And they fit absolutely perfect. Other side. There is no left or right, they're a glove. These will protect you. Stanley knife. I'm not even going to look. Nothing. Blade. You just saw me cut the box open with it. They work. Chisel. This is a very, very sharp chisel. Nothing. They cost me, I think it was $10.90 delivered. I've got a link. There's an Amazon link for Amazon Australia, link below. I'm a Prime member. It cost me $7 a month, I think, to be an Amazon Prime member. So I get free music, free videos, free delivery. Why not become a Prime member and then use that link to get yourself a pair of these? And then when you're chiseling or whatever, you know, you're going to, it's a seat belt. And people have been saying they don't get any feeling with these. I can feel through these really well. I'm very impressed with them. That's why I'm giving you the link, if you want to use it. All right, if not, just click on the link and go and have a look. And then have a look what else might be in there. Well done. Washers always on the nut side. Thanks, Peter. Butcher's gloves. Okay, so for the dogs, I will be using this one. I'll take this one off. Hold the meat. Knife. Because I feed them chicken, like chicken drumsticks, and I take all the meat off and then cut it all up. And, you know, it's greasy, and I don't want to, I've so many times just caught myself before I've cut myself. Anyway, so that's that. We'll do a little bit more saw, and then we'll have a look at the box. I'm trying to break it up so there's a bit of variety. Okay, so we've got the table on. Onto the trunnion. And we've put that bolt here. Then it says this guy here goes in the top. That's our adjuster. And it just pushes on. Can't even see it. Come back. Up here. This is our blade tensioner. So you tighten that up. Tuned. Okay. There is no dial indicator. We can open the box up and have, there's a 10-inch wheel, 245 millimeters across the diameter. That's where it gets its name from, 245. BS, Bandsaw 2-245H. Maybe it says for horizontal, I don't know. Now when you get it to this stage, you can also rotate the wheel to make sure that the blade stays in position. Now it's not staying in position. It's starting to want to come off the front of the wheel. I'm going to come around this side, it's a bit easier. It's wanting to come off the front of the tyre. I don't know if you can see that there, but it's very close to it. On the back, we've got this adjuster here. Now, as I turn that, it tilts the wheel forwards or backwards inside. So it'll tilt this way or this way. As we tilt it, it's going to want to climb to the highest point. So if I want the wheel to go, the blade to go back onto the tyre of the wheel, what I do is I need to tilt the top of the wheel out towards me. Remember, it's going to climb to the highest point. So say this is the top of the wheel. There's the wheel here and there's the top. As I tilt it towards, this becomes the highest point. Tilt it back in, this becomes the highest point. It's the same situation with a belt sander, if you've ever tried to adjust so the belt tracks correctly on a belt sander. So I need it to go that direction. Now I think the adjuster is on the low side of the axle. I'm looking down the center there and it is on the low side of the axle. So I'm going to tighten this to bring, no, I'm going to loosen it. I'm going to loosen this thing on the back here, which will make that wheel tilt this way, which will make the top of the tyre that. So now I'm going to turn it slowly as I do it. You know what? It's going the wrong way. It's going the opposite direction to what I thought it was. There must be something in there that's making it go that way. So now I'm tightening, and then it's going back on. It's going on very, very nicely. Now some people, not me, but some people, that's nice, that's great. Some people like to have it so that the blade is almost coming off the front. So remember how I just said then tighten it up on the back, which means turn the knob clockwise, and that will adjust the wheel. I'm pretty sure, yeah, I know what's happening. It's going into a nut, which is pulling the bottom. Okay, so it's pulling the bottom in of the support for the bearing, and that will make it climb back up to the back. Yeah, that's the way it goes. Thought I got it wrong for a second, but no. Okay, all good. As I was saying, some people like to have the blade almost hanging off the front and have the back of the blade, the part that doesn't cut, on the crown of the tyre. I don't like that. I've found that it's an issue for me. All the bearings are looking pretty good there. I don't know if I can adjust these. I should be able to adjust them with a spanner there, an Allen key. There's a few things that are available around the back. There are some Allen keys in the back which hold things on. So I'm going to not worry about that right at the moment. Look, there's a whole, this is not going to be an adjustment video. Let's just finish assembling it, because otherwise we're going to be here forever. Okay, the next thing to do is use these guys, and we're going to put this on the front. I might swing around to the other camera, which might make it a little bit easier while I'm doing it. Maybe. I think it will. I'll get rid of this towel now, because that's just going to be an issue. Washers and bits and pieces on the floor. Now I can bring it up closer. Like so. So we've got this, and it's going to go on here, like that. Now it's got a slot here in the face so that the miter gauge can go backwards and forwards through there. There's a fair bit of adjustment available here, and we've got these guys. So I'm going to put a washer on that, and I'm going to put those in straight away. One there, and the other one down here. Again, these are all tapped, ready for you to just slide it on. And then I can push this on like so, and then slowly tighten it up. Now there is movement to get it right, you know, just to adjust the gauge here, because there's a mark, all the increments are on that. And the other thing you'll notice, this one in the middle where it says naught actually has the thickness of the blade in the center. So it starts from the side of the blade, the kerf, and also from the kerf the other direction. So they're handy little things. So I'll just nip it up like so. You always tune the blade on the front for the reason to avoid the accumulation of resin and dust brought by the teeth of the blade. Dust increases diameter and can back the blade. Well, that's an interesting thing, would be. But if you're not cutting something with resin, like say we're cutting plywood, I'd still prefer to have it so it's riding on the crown. Just me. All right, now this is our fence. And this is very easy to put on. Hook it over the back. Relax it. In from the side is probably going to be the easiest. And then I can put it to wherever I want. And then it's got a tensioner here. Rotate that to wherever I want. And then down. When I do that, it's locking this back part as well. See, there's no movement. I'm moving the whole saw. Okay, you guys are being a little bit naughty there, that's fine. Okay, so there we go. Basically, the saw is assembled. And I might try and adjust those quickly because I'd like to turn it on. It's got one set of bearings at the bottom and another set of bearings at the top. Let me see, the belt down here is already tensioned. The dry belt's got a little dust port down the bottom here that I'd hook a dust extractor onto. It's got a brush here to clean the tyre. We were talking about that kind of resin build-up on blades. Well, the bottom tyre will be cleaning stuff off. It's got little weights on here to balance. Top one has also got weights on it. If I turn that around to there, you might see them. There are the weights there. What else have we got? Height adjust. I did say I was going to try and tune it, but I'm not. Oh, stuff it. I should. I really should. I think I might have to undo those guards up there to do that. I'm going to leave the bottom bearings go for the second. I'll just do the top ones. Let's see how it works. I've loosened it off and then just tightened it. Some saws, as you put the Allen key in, it's on an offset cam and will rotate the wheel, but at this one it's just it's a loosening and tightening. There we go. Now the trick with it is so that the bearings don't turn. So it's just kissing the bearings. That's holding in position. The thrust race at the back, let's see if that's the same kind of a situation. I'm going to raise that up. Actually, I'll lower it down. That might be something you want to watch as well. To lower it down, we release this. Turn this up just a little bit. We release this, and then it's a crank, which is a really nice feature. The bigger one from the same company doesn't do this. I like that. And then tighten that up. Now we've got the thrust race is around here. We adjust that. Again, it'll be a loosen. And I can slide it up to the back of the blade. Now that's there so that as the blade's cutting, or as you're pushing timber against the blade, it doesn't just keep on, the blade doesn't want to go away from it. It's got to push up against that bearing that will spin. And so that's called a thrust race. Okay, let's give it a shot. Let's turn her on. See how it goes. If you're interested, I'll plug it into this power point under here. Okay, that's plugged in and turned on down there. That's the NVR switch. I'll show you that to start. Nice and quiet, isn't it? Isn't it beautiful? So leave it on, and I'm going to turn it off at the power point, just to show the safety feature. Okay, and it stops reasonably quickly too. Turn the power point back on, and it will not start until I start it here. That's a good feature. I like that. Push that down. I don't know if there's a lockout that you can get to stop kids using it. Let me see what have I got that I can cut on it. It's only going to be small stuff that I cut, so I'll get a little bit of MDF and see how it goes. Remember, I haven't done the bottom bearings yet, and I possibly should, but I haven't. I'm going to take this one off and spin it around so you can see it. It's got a T-track and a T-track there, so I can now, these are just a square head under a cup head bolt, square section I should say, under a cup head bolt. There we go. And now that allows me to bring this in nice and close for small stuff. And when I start tensioning that, always push on this first before you nip it up. There we go, held at the front and the back, and it's all down below the bearings. I can now lower that down even more to have more control, so there's less room for the timber to flex. Okay, let's see how it goes. Am I game or not? I'll do a shortcut this way. That's great. Let's see how fast it'll go. I'm happy. I'm happy with that. And those cuts were pretty parallel. I could measure. What you can do is you can end for end them and see if they're the same thickness. And my friends, they are. It's for fine, precise, not for ripping a railway sleeper. Exactly right. Blade is touching the bearings too much, I think. Agree with Carl about Alex Snodgrass clinic. Yeah, I've seen Alex's work, and that's fine. I still like to have my blades riding on the crown. I know that Alex is not a fan of that. That's totally up to him. Please clamp the machine to table just in case. I will be bolting the machine to the table when I do it, but the machine is 30 kilos. I was cutting a piece of 3mm. It's not going to be an issue in that situation. All right, we're nearly done, so what I'll do is I'll get the box out that I was made during the week. And show you how that came up. Over to the side. Nice little saw if you're interested. Use the links below. All right, here we go. Now this is the box finished. You see it's got the feet at the end, the whole end, and the other end as well. The continual edge from the grain goes right the way around. I love it. It's such a nice little box. Anyway, this is for these things. So what I've done is I put rubber in the bottom and rubber on the underside to stop it being drummy. How good is that? So now the Connect 4 game, when these guys here play it, it's two of my grandsons, and that's where the Connect 4 game is living at the moment. they can just throw that straight in and tip the thing upside down, and it's not going to go all over the place. So that's going to work very well. Now, the other thing, what do we do during the week? When I was going up to Brisbane, up to see these guys, at Grafton, there's a place that I was driving past, and I thought, wow, that's a nice thing. I'll have to have a look in there. So I went in, and John Cole would be proud of it, would he? All right, let me see. This is the things that they make there. Beautiful big table. And let's have a look at one of the machines. Look at that thing. So 49 horsepower. How many helical cutters did you say had?
400 tons.
400 carbides.
Square.
Yep. Whose job is it to rotate them?
It's the boss's baby. I let him do that.
Look at that. So all the carbides are in here?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And the white belt.
This is the Clarence River, and the water level came up above. Oh, look at the water dragon. So I was just talking to the guy here, and the water level came right up and was around 400 millimeters below this floor. So he lost a bit of stock.
Come have a look at it. It's all standard, ready to go pretty much. We've got this.
How cool is this? This old jointer.
Yeah.
Straight blade.
Yeah. Use that. Awesome. Ooh. Right, you take out.
A few cubic meters there. So Sam was very good. Sam's one of the guys that works there. He showed me around the place, and it was just amazing to see that levee, the concrete levee that the water dragon was sitting on. That levee, the water went over it 400 millimeters. At the beginning of that video, did you see how, I think it's the Clarence River, how wide the river was, and it's still up high. Well, for all the distance you could see, that was underwater. That's how far, how intense those floods were. It came over, it went right through the workshop where that big machine is. They managed to get that up off the ground, because that would have been a horribly big, expensive cost. And they lost a lot of stock. Water just went straight through there, right across the road. There's a church on the other side of the road. It was, flooded. And I asked Sam how long it happened for, and he said, well, it happened for about an hour and a half, because the water came across in that surge and then slowly started going down, and it went over into there's a big easement swamp on the other side of the road, and it all drained into there, and then the water slowly started going back down again. But the height of the river stayed up for quite a while. Military vehicle markings. We have had unbelievable rain. The global warming. We've had 3 years of La Nina, where we've just had so much rain. Today is a beautiful day outside, so I'm going to enjoy that a bit later on. But it's just been horribly wet. And one more thing. When I was up at Brisbane, I couldn't go past Brisbane without dropping in and having a chat to the guys at the Carpetech store up there. And this is possibly my favorite display in any wood shop that I've seen. I'll just let you look at that. There we go. All right. So I forget what I said we're going to do next week. I'll have to watch the video and I'll remind myself of what we're going to do next week. But it'll be something interesting. We may actually use wood, but great little saw. I'm really looking forward to using this for, as I say, the smaller things and keep the other saw there. This is to stop me having to pull the blades off that and put a smaller blade in. So much more convenient. Or this is a great little saw if you've got a small workshop and you want a dedicated small bandsaw that can get you out of a pinch. It's a lot neater than using a jigsaw. Okay, it is indeed very beautiful. Now, if you're one of my patrons, we're going to have a Patreon meeting straight after this video, and I've put a new link in Zoom. a new Zoom link in the Patreon page, and I've sent messages out as well. So if you can join me there, that'd be great. Only 27 likes. Well, maybe those people don't like bandsaws. That's all right. Okay, thanks again for watching. Look after yourselves. Be nice to each other. And I've come down to this one here. See you next week. Bye.